This time on Grenade Motorsports, we save another old wreck from being stuck in a barn. We travel to Michigan to fire up a '69 Corvette that hasn't run in 5 years. We rescue an '80s Bullnose icon from a car guy's nightmare. And this awesome 1952 pickup shows up to get a Hemi. Let's go. It's time to go. Hello everyone, thanks for being here. A couple things right out of the gate. Those once a week uploads, they proved way too much work with too little rewards, so we're back to doing once a month uploads. Thanks for sticking with me on that. I've been asked about that vintage radio, and I'm going to give you a 2-minute clip on that, and then we'll jump right back into the car stuff. We are going to talk about this '79 Ford, so let's get caught up. That was a busy weekend, let me tell you. I started doing some landscaping outside and I didn't stop for like probably 12 hours. And I got a lot done. It's stuff I've been meaning to do. And I'm glad to get caught up every once in a while, you know. The reason for the big landscaping scrape off was we were having a fall get together. So we had kind of a house party and it was pretty tame. And I can only say there was a little bit of burnouts and a little bit of explosions, but the rest of it was kind of playing yard games and beer pong with the kids. It was ridiculous. Our son's in his mid-20s now and he brought all his buddies and that was a hoot, let me tell you. But we had, you know, friends and family and the neighbors came. It was really, really cool, a lot of fun. Point of all that is I didn't get a damn thing done on the radio, the cars. I got a couple things done actually, and I need to take the trailer this week and go take a look at a couple of major projects. So hang on a second and we'll get up to speed. You guys might remember this 1946 Philco radio that I redid for a gal. I got all of these wired in and I powered up this little amplifier and I had to consult with my audio buddy because it sounded like crap. And as it turns out, I cannot use that to power that. So the speakers are the wrong choice. But the only reason I used them is that was the same size as the opening I already had, and those two were cheap. So me being me, I went with cheap. And it turns out the ratings on these things are incompatible. This is effectively home stereo, these are car, and there's a bit of a difference. So I have a set of monitors that I'm going to disassemble and get good sound to come out of this, and I'll have to change my mounting, but that's okay. Now the other thing I could do is leave all these here and change that for one that costs about $400, which I'm not going to do. So lesson learned, but hey, you know, when you learn things the hard way, you tend to remember them. And I just learned something. So what I'm going to do is get good sound out of this because that's more important than a whole bunch of speakers wired together, you know, like outboard engines on the back of a boat. Looks cool, but that doesn't run very good. So let me get back to this real quick. They'll delete the video, but at least it works, it rocks. I had to totally change the speakers though and put crossovers in it. Dear for my dreams the same. So what I ended up doing was taking out the car audio and putting in a couple of these, which came from some Insignia bookshelf speakers. And I was able to use the crossovers from them, and that's what made this work, because I was mixing car audio and home audio, and that was not working out. It really does sound really good in the room. Check, 1, 2. Yeah, so, cool. What are you doing? What are you doing, Miss Daisy? You want to go in the yard? No? Okay, fine. Well, what do we have here? Looks like we have a 79 shortbed V8 two-wheel drive truck from Tennessee that apparently got in a fight with something that was a little stronger than the bodywork. But overall, this is a really solid truck. Walk around, take a look at it. Big back window. Look at the bed. Hardly nothing to do in there. Here's the worst spot of the whole truck besides the crunch. Right there. That's the worst spot. So I'll cut that out and fix that. A little bit of debris there. But I mean, this is going to be a good truck. Ford 9-inch. Disc brakes in the front. Cab corners are solid as a rock in there. There's a little bit on the door here. This is a good, solid building base. So let me get it down, get it cleaned up, and we'll see what it looks like. But now that I have this short bed two-wheel drive cleaned up, I gave it the once over and got a lot of the cat poop, raccoon poop. It's actually really good. This is a really good truck. Under the engine compartment looks terrible. It looks like they hit something bending both frame horns, which are nothing more than these pieces of steel that come straight forward, and I'm having all that off anyway. And they actually gave me 2 new frame horns that came from another truck. So they gave me all the parts to fix it and the frame horns. So when I take this all apart to do the engine swap, I'll be able to change all of that when I put it back together. And this one, honestly, I know I like to be quick and dirty. I'm gonna paint this truck. And I think I'm gonna paint it the same color, honestly. Two-wheel drive, Coyote power, a little lower, a lot louder, and just super cool. Inner fender wells, a couple of frame horns, the grill assembly, the actual inner fender well support. But I mean, this truck is pretty darn good, believe me. For the standards of what we do around here, a lot of times that whole floor is missing. Hey look, it's even got a roof. No hole in the roof. So anyway, this is the engine compartment. It has this. I have a new one of these, but look how filthy it is. Look at that. Look at the wasps' nests. Tennessee is huge. Every truck we get from Tennessee is covered in wasps' nests. Say that 10 times fast. Anyway, they say this runs. I'm not even gonna bother because they said when you do start it, it's running on 3 cylinders and it sounds like a bag of hammers in a dryer. So who cares, you know? I just thought I'd show you that before I start taking it apart and complaining about how filthy it is and how much I can't stand getting dirty. Look at this little puddle of business here. That's melted ignition box. They said they had to change it because it had melted. So I don't know what was going on in here. It's not a fire because that's all covered in oil. It's a 302 and it can go away, far, far away. A quick little project besides this is this enclosed trailer. Belongs to a friend of mine. I'm putting lights in it and some flooring, so I'm gonna do that right now. Hang on a second. With the magic of the internet. Magic of the internet, sure, but I mean, it's pretty late. That's a lot better, isn't it? We're gonna put a strip across there, some cove base. But yeah, I'd say this is a lot better. I still gotta put the 2 bike mounts in the front floor, but I'm gonna do that right now. But effectively, this thing is done. Yeah, it looks way better. Not bad for a 20-some-year-old trailer. It's now in the garage spot. That means that work is going to begin, and I will also tell you that the first thing I have to do is pull this wrecked front clip off and save everything I'm gonna save and trash everything I'm getting rid of. And I need to make a good solid list of parts. I had an engine deal worked out for this, but that deal fell apart, as most of them do. I was gonna put a Coyote engine in the thing, but they're just so expensive with the controllers and everything, so that left me with a couple of options. What engine do I pick? Well, I mean, I had the 6.2 Boss, which is basically the same money as a Coyote, so I went with the 351 Windsor, which is gonna work out great. Right now, I am going to get that. I don't know if you can see that in the mirror there. This guy is not nice. So this thing is a total pile of crap, but it's got a good 5.8 liter engine and transmission because we just drove it into this spot. But over here, this place has got a ton of shit in it. This guy's probably gonna throw a fit if he sees me with a camera, but check that out. What's that? 72, and then a 60 something. And then I don't know what that is, but all right, I need to get my camera put away before this guy starts a shooting. I mean, this guy was a total jerk. He was yelling at me because I tried to knock him down a couple $100, but I ended up giving it to him and made him even madder. So I got the thing brought home for one reason, that right there. What a hunk of crap, this thing. But it's got a good 5.8 liter V8 in it that supposedly only has about 160 on it. It sounds great, moves under its own power. It's 2-wheel drive, and I'm taking the engine and trans out of it. I already took the wheels off and stuck them on here because now it looks more like a proper Ford truck. That one has the center cap. This one does not. The 2 fronts don't have center caps, but I already found them online for 30 bucks. We'll paint the centers and put new center caps. Man, this thing's gross. It's a lovely fall day, so I figure I would just take this engine out right here. This grill, I'm kind of partial to these, and I might end up with a truck with this body style, so I'm going to save the grill. But the fenders are junk. I'm cutting them off. The hood I'll save, but I want to get that engine out and get it in the garage, get it on a stand, and haul this ugly eyesore nonsense garbage out of here. gotta clean up this mess, but more importantly, I need that linkage. That is going to put the transmission in and out of gear and also kick down when you stomp the pedal. But yeah, and I think I'm gonna take the column, I think I'm gonna take the brake booster, and then I can send it off to scrap. And just like that, it's gone. I got most of everything I need. That brake booster turns out is no good, but I'm gonna use it for mock-up. And we're gonna do a bunch of stuff to the engine to make it run better, and actually it ran really good. I just want it to be serviced. But yeah, the next step is gonna be taking that front clip off, which I'm gonna do right now. Some of the bracketry items, whatnot. Might as well put the rest of those parts in here and get started on the front end. So this piece of frame is obviously hit. Those two horns are both bent. But that's okay, they gave me new ones. Well, sort of. The issue is oh, I guess not. No, I guess not. They cut them right. They cut them right off. Okay. I was gonna say I thought it landed somewhere in here. These are long enough. It'll work. Okay. I gotta get this motor out of here. Initially, the plan was coyote swap, Crown Vic front end, axle flip, lower it, and have it be really, really cool, and kind of leave the paint. But because the one crunch was so bad, one thing leads to another, and before you know it, stuff just starts piling up. Seeing how dirty this is so dirty. Look at all that. I just lightly scraped the front. It's like that on one side. The other side is kind of okay. I mean, the truck is solid, of course, but I don't know. I mean, thankfully it's got discs. I can't add power steering to this because the suspension picks up the steering on the back. And modern F100s, F150s, it picks it up on the front. So it's a totally different setup. Even though these do have disc brakes. They have kingpins and disc brakes. These are the kingpins. They're basically like a bushing. But at least it has disc brakes. Either way, that motor right there is going in. I definitely have a lot of cleaning before I can even weld those together. Got to upgrade the brakes. We're going to upgrade to power brakes. Can't do power steering. I mean, they make a kit for it, but it's ridiculous expensive. If only there was a way to snap my fingers and have a new chassis. What I have here is a 2003 through 2011 Crown Vic front end with power steering rack, coilovers, much better handling and adjustability, Ford 9-inch rebuilt shackles, good brakes, and a short bed frame. So this entire chassis is going to go underneath that green truck. And of course the 351 Windsor with a C6 automatic trans. It's going to have power steering, power brakes. We're going to get rid of this chassis altogether, which only has a manual steering assembly. It did have discs, but if you remember those frame horns a second ago, yeah. I cut those off. I began cleaning the corners. I'm going to get a body mount to radiator core support mount measurement off the other frame and trim these and weld them on so that this frame is usable for someone else. I'm not going to use it, but it's too good to throw away. It's a Tennessee truck. So, you know, that engine and C4 trans, which is good, plus this short bed frame, these are rare up here. So we're going to get that, this cab and the bed up in the air, roll this one out, and get it listed, someone else can have it because it's too good to pitch. I've got them secure. I just need to cut some filler pieces for the bottom because when they cut those off, they weren't straight. I cut mine straight. So there's just like little strips that I'll put in there. And then that's it. This can go live somewhere else. It's the same measurement from mount to mount and width to width, so it's good to go. This is where we're gonna have to pause. I mean, it's a pause for me, it's not a pause for you. These are welded on and they're ready to go. You just got to touch them up a little bit. I got to go run out of state again and deal with a bunch of other people's problems. But I mean, that's what I'm good at, right? I'm here to help people. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to help them. I'll be back in a second. Okay, 3 hours from my place is this car, that guy, and this car. This car has a major parasitic draw and the dash is disassembled. We're gonna do as much as we can on this today, but the first problem was this place hadn't been swept in 20 years. The compressor that they left us to fill this tire is a 220 and this is a 110 building, so that ain't happening. We pushed it with a flat tire. That can stay there as long as it wants. I don't care, but my goal is to get room, move this car over so we can open the doors, get it up in the air, put it on cribbing, and figure out where the power is grounding. We have a direct ground on the main cable, so that's the goal for right now. Hour number 4, isolating circuits, trying to find where the main power draw is. The only thing I know is where it isn't. Yeah. So now I have to take the rest of this dash cluster down so I can start tracing individual wires that are back there. And then ultimately the main harness, which I'm not even sure where that goes, but one at a time. And after hour number 12, I finally had the carpet back in it, the speedometer cluster back in it, and the car running under its own power. Headlights worked. It seemed that I had found the final power drain on this old harness, but I had to go through every single circuit. And not only that, all of these wires were so old and brittle that all you had to do is touch them and they would snap. This car needs a reproduction harness if you want to stay stock, or it needs a full-on painless reconstruction tip to tail. There, you'll just chase one and another one will be created. Not to mention there's a few of these relays in here that were over 50 years old. I got it all cleaned up, I headed down the road, went back home, and as soon as I got home, in the pouring rain, an awesome old thing arrived. This 1952 Dodge, and Miss Daisy approves. The chipmunks started hanging out underneath it right away. This vehicle is not getting an all-wheel drive swap. If you notice how narrow or how short that wheelbase is, I think this one's only 109 inches. And this is roughly 119 or something like that. So we're not gonna cut 10 inches out of that, and we're not gonna add 10 inches to that. What we are gonna do is take that engine and transmission out. We're gonna take the engine and trans out of this. It's 2-wheel drive. This is a rust-free body, which is crazy up here. They're all rotten out. This one came from Georgia, and the truck came from Tennessee. Our new buddy Todd and his cool family brought it up, and they drove this one behind it. And we're gonna take stuff out of this one to fix this one. While I was gone, nothing got done because, quite frankly, I'm the only one that does it. And this truck, I'm ready to pull the cab right now. As you saw a few minutes ago, I had repaired the front frame rails on this. I'm gonna get the cab off. That'll make the bed easier to come off. So we can get this thing rolled around and put under it. We get this thing, parts have started to arrive for it already. I want this engine in this chassis and this chassis under that truck, and that's the goal for the next couple of days. Earlier in the video I was going on and on about wheels, and while I do like these 80s or Bullnose style era Ford rims, I ended up getting these from a buddy. And I have a set of 4 of these, and I was going to use them on this chassis, but they're 15s, and you cannot get a 15-inch rim over the Crown Vic disc brakes, which is a bummer, but who cares? So if you notice, they have 15-inch wheels on here, but no caliper, because if you put a caliper, you're not getting that 15-inch wheel on there, and that's fine. I don't care. I've been looking around. Daisy's been helping me, of course. She does all my internet stuff. Actually, these were in the corner of the garage that I was working on the Corvette up in Michigan. And I said to the guy, I go, this is Chuck, he's my buddy, you know. I said, hey, what's the deal with those wheels? Oh man, those are expensive wheels, you can't have those. I'm like, well, we gotta make a deal, you know, do a little horse trading. And I ended up with these wheels. They are Torque Thrust 2, I believe. And they're in perfect condition, no rash, the tires are good. Obviously, he's a car guy. The one tire on the drive wheel of the vehicle they were on is a little bit thin from spinning, obviously. I did have to order the right kind of lug nuts for it, which is, it's no problem. I got them. They'll be here. So we will get these wheels on this chassis with that engine in this chassis, and then get that cab and bed mounted. So enough of the chit chat. I gotta get back to the laying on the ground and swearing. It is, but it's heavy, but it ain't insurmountable. Everything's on the hook. Let's see. The new mounts yet, so I'm just gonna do, you know, back in Detroit, you know what we would have done? We would have just got some hockey pucks and some big washers and drilled holes in them, and that'd have been it. And however you want to lift your vehicle, you just stack hockey pucks. That's how we used to do it. There. Starting to look like something. I think I'm gonna take those 2 out. Put 2 little ones in there. Okay, the plan is get that in here, put it on these rollers, turn it around so the bed is underneath the chains, and then I can take this junk chassis out. I'm going to harvest a few items off of it, but that, look at that. That's kick-ass. It's starting to look like something. All right, I'm about ready to get that moved with those under there, but I thought I'd show you the mess, which looks a lot better. This is a good short bed frame. The 302 needs to be rebuilt. I'm taking the drive shaft. I was going to use the fuel tank, but the fuel tank's junk. Inside looks like you can imagine. Those are 90 bucks, that tank, for a brand new one. Yeah, it's a little hillbilly right now. I need to clean this up forthwith. Just like that, cleaned up for the night. Actually, for the next couple days, I got to run over and take a look at my buddy's closing his store, and we need to do some stuff. But that's the old chassis. There's the new one, and you can tell that that is going to be kick-ass. I still have a ton of work to do. Hang on a second, I'll be right back. Well, for you, it'll be just a second. For me, it'll be a couple days, but hang on. I have most of everything cleared out of the way and organized. So I've decided that this rear end, which has the tag and no leaks, it's dry, and that rear end that's on that chassis, I'm going to swap them. Because this one is all oily. It has leaked. They didn't weld the bottom of the perches on yet to set the pinion angle, which is good. That means I'm not stuck with that. And I believe that this is a better condition rear end. So I'm going to get these switched, which means lift the bed, roll this chassis forward, work on it up here, get the rear end off. This one I can get the rear end off right where it is. Take the drive shaft. That fuel tank's crap, it's full of rust. And I still have to take this bumper off. So that's the order of the day. Swap those two, get the bumper, the drive shaft, and I would like to get this engine on a stand, separate it from the transmission, because parts have started to arrive and we have enough to get going. So let's do that, shall we? This axle is free, so I took the U-bolts off, but the thing is, the drums are too big to fit through the space of the spring in the frame, so you need to undo these rear shackles and drop them and roll it out, because otherwise you have to disassemble the axle to get it out, and it's easier just to drop the spring perch, spring shackle, whatever. But I think rather than try and jack this up or do it from overhead, I'll just get the engine hoist, grab a hold of it, lift it up, lower it, undo these shackle brackets, and roll this axle out. And then I'm going to leave it sit like this and get that off and bring it over. This one I don't need that same setup, because this one, the axle is underneath. They did what's called an axle flip. It lowers the vehicle when you get a Crown Vic front end to make it lower. Now if I just unhook these, this will lay to the side and I can roll that out. There. So now, if I just jack this thing back up, I can lift this up and roll that out. probably. Okay. There we go. This will be a lot easier to put back onto that frame because that axle is mounted below the springs. All I have to do is drop the 4 axle U-bolts and it'll just roll away, and I can roll this one under. And then this I'll bring over the same way, get it over these, and there you go. All in the name of lowering the vehicle, which I don't normally do. I like them up high. Bigger is better, eh? But this was already done, and this is going to be a 2-wheel drive, lowered, carbureted thing, so we're doing what we're doing. I've been scraping dirt and mud and grease off of this thing for a good hour. I got the brakes spinning free. These spin free anyway, but this one, I had to cut the drum because it was seized right here. So I cut a slit in it and sprayed some penetrant, hit it with a hammer, and then I got it to come off. And as you can see, the last brake job right here, they didn't change these pads because they couldn't get that drum off, I'll bet. And in trying, they broke one of these lug studs. So what I'm going to do is put that rear end under there and take one of those studs and that drum off and use it for my rear end, which is the benefit of having 2 chassis. So no problem there. I'm ready to actually drop this down right now. Let's see, when I lower it, it should sit on that jack stand, and then the rear end should start to just gently come down. Let me get better situated in case I need to make a hasty exit. Yeah, one side down. The other side's hanging up. Probably because of dirt in that pad. I don't want to just drop it because I don't want to damage that backing plate. I'm using that. I got it. It's fairly clean, but okay. I'd have to put the camera down and deal with this. Hang on one second. As usual, it's getting late, but at least I got that one gone. Yeah. So what I did was I cleaned up this axle so that when I put it in, I'm able to weld the pinion angle so I don't have to take it apart a third time. There's the Dodge. I'm glad it rolls easy because I've had to move it several times, but I dig the thing and I can't wait to get started on that. But that needed to go outside. I need the space. It looks a lot better with those wheels on there. Someone will want this for sure. 2-wheel drive short bed with a 302 and a C4 transmission. It's got a Ford 9-inch and disc brakes. Someone will want that, but not me. Rear end's back in, bed is just gently set down on it, and I can now roll it in and out. The next phase is getting that on an engine stand. See you in the morning. It's another early morning. I've got a lot to do today, and the furnace is going to be running because it's cold outside. Another few weeks and we're going to have snow on the ground. So you have to put up with the background noise. Who cares? Nobody's watching anyways. I'm going to separate the motor from the trans so I can put it on the stand and clean it and take the exhaust manifolds off, eliminate all the excess vacuum, new distributor, water pump, clean and paint, you know, full tune, plugs, wires, all that crap. This is the messy, crappy part of the job, which I don't dig it, but the results, it'll be worth it. There's a song playing that I have to talk through, even though I don't really have anything to say because I want this out of my way. I don't want that on the ground. And I just want these lines, which are broken anyway. I say, how about we pick up the motor? What's gonna happen? Is it gonna flip over? No, it's good. It's good. All right, let me move all this out of the way and get it on the stand, start the dirty job. So I'm starting to turn this into what would look like a normal carbureted V8 engine. And part of the deal is we have a drop-in distributor that gets rid of the old Ford DuraSpark, which is their ignition system. And it works fine, it's just that it's way easier if it's HEI. So another thing are all of these vacuum ports. This is a temperature vacuum switch, and there were two more of these. That's part of the cruise control. There's two more of these. Look at all the vacuum openings on these two switches. They were in this, which is a fitting that just connects to your water, that just connects to your heater core for heat. So really, all that BS, including this, I'm taking that out, but you got one here and one here. These are your heater hoses that goes to your heater core on the firewall. And then this is your crankcase vent. We're gonna leave that, obviously, but I don't need that. This is an EGR valve. We don't need that. This is nonsense that was connected to the smog pump. And also all of that vacuum reference controls a exhaust flap that helps keep heat in the engine, I'm assuming. Who knows? I know what all of it did was rob power. Horribly rob power. So with a new distributor and only vacuum and exhaust air pulled in and air flowing out, we should make a considerable amount more horsepower, and it won't be so choked doing all of these things that someone thought was wise. What we're going to have on the new distributor is power in, which provides power to the rotor that fires the plugs. There'll be a tach signal going back to the dash, and then the carburetor is vacuum controlled. It will have a kickdown lever that goes to this transmission. This is a C6, and normally on a transmission you need a controller because they're electronic and you have to tell it all sorts of things. This transmission is controlled by vacuum. Basically, vacuum reference tells it when it needs to shift based on engine RPM or vacuum reference. I was just checking this line and I happened to notice there's a hole in this line. So this transmission may have never shifted properly, or this was wearing thin and I broke it taking it out, which is possible. But I'm going to clean all that up and put new lines, and it'll be sweet after I get this mess taken care of. Back at it. Normally I'm an EFI guy, you know, fuel injection. But these carbureted engines, they're beginning to appeal to me because of how simple they are. Once you strip away all of the nonsense vacuum and just stuff that smog, you know, once you get rid of all that, they're very simple. These are really, really simple. There's an EGR plate. That's what this is right there. That exhaust gas return is what that means. I could take that off if I wanted to, but instead I'm just going to build a block off plate out of steel right there. And then I'm going to leave this because it is also connected to the crankcase vent, PCV. And this extra vacuum, I can just plug it. This vacuum will be reference for my brakes. That's a water neck now. This, I'm gonna just plug this with another sensor or an actual plug, because we don't need that. You really only need to check engine temperature. I don't care what happens before the thermostat. And then over here, I just used, that happened to be 3/4 iron pipe size. So I put a 3/4 by 1/2 reducer on there and put a plug in it. So I could plug those, but they're actually hot for exhaust. That's no big deal. This vacuum, I just need one of these vacuum runs for the transmission. And that's it. And then we're going to put headers on it. I was going to put a gnarly Holly, I was going to put a Holly carburetor on it, but this actually says right on it, I don't know if you can see that, but I can. It says manufactured by Holly for Motorcraft. So it's a Holly vacuum secondary. It's probably a 600 CFM. Might be a little bigger. Is there, does it say? It was put on in 2005, remanufactured. Hell, that's brand new to me. But it's starting to look like a V8 engine. And once I get all the grime cleaned away, get a coat of paint on it, I think it's gonna be cool. I mean, it's not ever gonna be a heart-pounding insanity machine, but this thing will be running and driving, and if someone wants to coyote swap it later, they can. It's starting to look a little better, isn't it? Well, I mean, a little better. It's really filthy, and yes, I'm going to take the valve covers off, and yes, I have to take the exhaust manifolds off, but I'm just trying to get like the bulk of the mess into the pail and in this one spot on the floor because I can clean it. But that's it for today. Hang on one second, and I will see you again in the morning. Oh, what I wouldn't give for somebody to clean this for me. And finish cleaning this for me. there's still quite a bit to do. Yeah, I have to change the front and rear main seals because while it's out of the vehicle, this is the time to do it. And I also got to get those exhaust manifolds off, pull the valve covers, clean those, change the gaskets, put them back on, and I'm going to paint the block and the valve covers as an assembly, kind of the way they used to do it in old school. And then the components will be black or silver, whatever they are coming out of the box. Blue plug wires, probably a black air cleaner, something like that. So it looks good, but I mean, it's just so tedious. The hours that went into just cleaning this yesterday made me want to go back to my regular job for the day. And it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it. Yeah, someone else. I've seen way worse, that's for sure, running. I've seen way worse modern Japanese engines. You open them up and there's just handfuls of goo in there. This one is not terrible. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. Those valve covers have been leaking for a very long time. But overall, that engine, that's not bad, man. That's pretty okay. I'm starting to think this isn't the original engine to that truck, because there was another telltale sign that the engine had been separate from the transmission before. So at any rate, I'm going to go with, yeah. Really dirty oil. Oil pickup's clean. This is old oil. It has been in here a long time. I see some shit. What's that? I don't know. It's not metal. It's not metal. It's fine. Honestly. I'll clean it all out. I see the bottoms of the skirts. I can look down in the bore and hopefully not become angry. But so far so good. I heard this engine run. It sounded great. The bores are fine. I don't really see much crosshatch. But it definitely didn't sit stuck. I'm going to turn it over. Cam lobes look good. Timing set. It's there. Clean it up and put new gaskets. Give it a lick of paint and start putting it back together. Let's get it in the truck. In case you ever wondered what a rear main seal is, this is a seal puller. You just keep kind of working it until you're able to get a hold of it. On this, they're all different. Rear main seal, this is where your crank connects to your block, and this rubber seal prevents oil from getting in between your engine and transmission. And this one was bad because the oil was all over the bottom of the truck. So it's getting a new rear main seal, new oil pan gasket. I cleaned out the oil pickup. I'm going to bolt the pan on. I have to thin coat with gasket maker on these side corks and down here where the gasket meets the block. But then once I bolt this together, I can spin it over and start to put the rest of it back together. But I just thought, in case you didn't know what a rear main seal is, it's virtually impossible on most vehicles to change while the engine and transmission are in the car. So there you go. What a mess. I gotta go run buy paint. I think Walmart's open this early. Man, the mess that this makes, sometimes you wonder, is it all worth it? Look, I still have to clean that. But, how cool, right? Hopefully these headers fit. I measured everything. They should fit. If I gotta cut them and do something, I can. I don't wanna, of course. But that's a GM style distributor. So to make this engine run, you only need 2 wires. And this now will work. And it has no emissions. It's all been deleted, capped, removed. And it looks like a proper truck motor. I still have a ton of work to do. But I'm going to run in and check the email. Got some stuff from England that just arrived. Morris Motors. ID tag. And this looks like a very old, early vintage. It's probably to the Morris, I'm not sure. But my buddy Chris sends me a bunch of kick-ass stuff. There's stuff up there. I don't know if you can see. Some of those are really vintage. And then later it'll be that. But I'm pretty happy. This took 3 days. And I'm not done. But I'm getting there. It's pretty early yet. I'll be able to knock that out. I want to get it hanging and mocked up inside the truck so I can start fabbing the motor mounts. Then I can leave that in there. Exciting. Cleaner than it was. Time flies when you're having fun. So the headers on the passenger side are going to be a bit problematic unless I can get a small starter. They'll clear on this side, and it's amazing how 12, 15 hours just disappears. You don't even seem like you did anything, except your body's going, hey, did I eat? Am I tired? Is it beer time? The floor's clean, and the motor's ready to go back in. And I know it's a little dark in here, but it's pretty early. I got all the oil off of that. It was oil with paint and oil and paint and years of it, so we're ready to go. We're ready to start the assembly process. I'm excited. Fuel tank's on the way. We're gonna hear this thing run. Earlier, I had mentioned that the header was gonna be a bit of a trick. First off, I need to take that pad and build a mount that goes to here. So that, don't worry about that for right now. But where the starter lands, the factory 351 starter motor is so big that it won't clear the headers. That's it there. So try to get something, you know, this size. This thing is huge. You'd have to beat the header into submission and you'd still probably wouldn't fit. So they make a, what's called a mini starter. They're super high powered, and although, you see I made a mark on this one, although this starter fits and takes up less space, this solenoid is in the way. So what I have to do is you index it or turn it. You undo these, there's screws in there, and you turn the plate to orient the body in the solenoid the way you want it to clear the starter. So I want the starter and the header in place, then I'll make the motor mounts. So that's what I'm doing next. As you can see, I've got it all cleaned up. It looks way better. I have the new brake booster, so it'll have power brakes, power steering. Hooray! It was a far cry from that before. I double checked that existing heater motor, the blower motor. It works. I still have to do these body mounts, but I can do that with a jack on the floor. You just jack it up under here and put them in like a, you know, like a sandwich. But yeah, it's coming right along. I want headers, starter, then the motor mounts. I already have a tranny mount underneath it, and my fuel tank arrived. So once I get those items, then I'll lift the bed, roll the truck out, and put the fuel system in it. Then, realistically, we could start it. You know, us YouTubers, we know everything, huh? So I'm looking at the orientation of the ears, and I'm getting ready to take this apart, and I double checked over there to the other starter. This is how I had it set in there. It actually goes like this, and everything is clear. So it comes out of the box ready to clear the headers, which would make more sense. So I didn't move it. I'm going to pre-wire it so I can bolt it on, put some power to it, and turn the engine. That way I know for sure it's doing what it's supposed to before I bury it in exhaust and wires and things. Alright, starter's wired in. I'm doing a temporary spin. Let's see if she runs. Well, it ain't gonna run, but let's see if it rotates the engine anyway. I like it. We pull the plugs out, we could probably get it spinning pretty fast. Which might get some oil to the top. I sprayed oil in these bores. I love the fact that the starter lands right where it's supposed to. Should spin pretty quick. It might push a bit of oil out at my face, so don't be surprised if that happens. I like it. We're going to leave that well enough alone. All right, I got this header mounted. I got the starter in. That's all well and good. It's beautiful. I'm going to put a plug in that opening there. But that's super cool. And I thought that was the hard side. It runs a little tight to the starter, but I got it. Over here, this header looks fine, right? No, it doesn't. Look closer. I had to cut it. And I'm going to have to cut it again because the two tubes on the bottom, one tube on the inside has to come up tight, and then the tube on the outside, that one, has to actually go backwards a little, and so I can clear this steering, because the steering comes right through here. So this tube's in the way, but not a big deal. I mean, effectively, it's pipe. Am I going to make perfect TIG welded show headers? No. But I'm going to weld to make sure they're strong and they don't leak and don't look too bad. And that's really all that matters. Performance. So I do have some tubing work to do. So I think I'm going to cut this one, get the steering in, and once I am happy with that, I'll do the motor mounts. I have the motor mounts done. I got to order some bends for the headers, but I'll get to that later. Real quick commentary. Roadkill and Roadkill Garage and Engine Masters and I think like three other shows. What was it? Faster with Newburn and Cotton. There's another one too, but they're officially canceled. Thanks Discovery Plus for removing the only thing I want to watch on TV anyways. Companies buy and sell things, and you know, the end of an era. So there you go. I'm going to continue my car channel because I enjoy making it. Even though my audience is very small, I don't mind. It's a creative outlet. I've said it before. More importantly, I really like documenting the builds. Think about it. If every cool thing you've ever done was only in your memory, sure, it's great for you, but what about the people that come after you? Or what about the people you're talking to and you say, hey, I had this Maserati, we put a Lexus engine in it, which is true, I did that 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. But I have not only pictures, but video of it. And it's cool because somewhere down the line, someone else is going to find enjoyment out of it. As a matter of fact, a lot of the core viewers that I have on this channel, which are roughly 1,000 a month, give or take, that is not a lot in YouTube world today, but 1,000 people a month that are interested in what you're doing, chances are later on it's going to inspire others to do things similar or in at least as much as enjoying themselves, watching it, building it, or talking about it. So I'm continuing my channel because of those core viewers, people like you. Thanks. Let me get going on this again. I got to run up and go visit a buddy real quick, and then I'll be back and I'll start laying underneath. But I'll fill you in on this in a second. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. Since we know a place to go, fuck the snow, fuck the snow, fuck the snow. Woo, about to lose the front wheel. You go over the edge, you have an issue. It'd be nice when I can get this to run. I think I like it there. Is the door shut? Yep. Okay. Good enough. Turn the heat back on. Simple. Different, but simple. Okey-doke. Battery power. Ignition. Starter. Yikes! I mean, that was a good sign, I think. Coil power, starter. I just don't think we're getting enough fuel in there yet. I mean, it fired up, but it's not running. I see fuel, I just don't know. Coil. That's a good sign. I'll take it. All right, so we got the ignition rolling. Okay, I gotta build the headers, and oh, my trans is puking everywhere, which I figured. That's all right. All right, I got a mess to clean up. I gotta weld some exhaust. That's gonna about do it for this episode. It was a long way to get here from that pile of junk in the woods all the way to where we are right now. I'm super stoked. That thing sounds better than I remember, and like I said, I'm super happy about it. I can't wait to get it on the road. Be sure to like, subscribe, share everywhere you see fit. Spread this around. The best thing you can do is go back and watch a whole bunch of the old videos, or at least press play on every device you own and just get those view counts up. The higher the view counts are, the more I get out into the mainstream, which will in turn allow us to have more, bigger, better builds. Not to mention, a select few viewers do get chosen to have their trucks built on the channel by me personally, and I think that's fun. So if you got something that you might want to have done, go ahead and send me an email. Maybe you'll get picked. We're coming up on the holidays, so there's going to be a little bit of hit and miss as far as uploads go. That once a week thing, yeah, we talked about that. So it's going to be once a month, once every other month. Stay tuned. Keep your notifications on so you do know when content hits. I'm working really hard. I'm grinding my nose to the stone, but really it's about building these things and giving them new life. I love it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.